Welcome to the Non-Standard Podcast. I'm your host, Manny Lamson, and what you're going to find in these episodes is just how to improve your quality of leadership just 1% at a time. We don't cover very extreme things because you'll find out that leadership is about consistency, doing the basic things great, and understanding people at the utmost ability to help them get to where they need to go. So I always have a guest on my show, and these guests are going to provide you with some of the basics that they lead by, some of the examples throughout their life, their story. And then also we cover my leadership philosophy in there as well that has helped guide me in becoming a leader as well. So again, the intent here is just for you to learn. And I hope you do. And if you do, you know what to do. Just save, share, like, or follow, anything you got to do to continue this journey. I look forward to doing more and more of these episodes. And with that being said, let's get on with today's episode. Up Folsom, and we discuss primarily just leadership overall in a manhood perspective. So he runs a wolf tribe agency, which is very much a how to become a better person, how to become a leader in your community, how to build that tribe wherever you are. And what I love with most of them being folks on the military, we take a shift to more that masculinity side of the house that we are losing in society. And he does a great job providing examples, what he does, how he does it throughout this whole episode. Some of the things we focus on are his big three. We talk about find your passion. If you think it, you can see it, you can do it. And then network is key. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. If you have any feedback, please just provide it to me after. But I look forward to what I hear. And let's get on with the show. Welcome, everybody. Just like you heard in the intro, I'm joined with my man, Philip Folsom. And we are going to get started today right away because just like happens on every show, we're always talking. And we get the juices going and the blood's flowing, and we already start talking about leadership. And sometimes you have to hit record to get going. And if you've heard on previous episodes of the Non-Standard Podcast, we always start with 3 H's: hometown, heroes, and hardship. It's a way for myself, but also you guys listening, to understand where the guest is coming from on their leadership style, sort of how it sort of came to fruition. And then when we hit the leadership, it all makes sense. So with that, boss, I'll pass it over to you. Hometown, heroes, and hardship. What do you got for us?
Hometown, Cheney, Washington, not far from where you were stationed. By Fairchild Air Force Base, a little cow town outside of Spokane, and so pretty, humble beginnings. That was my
it was probably pretty small back when because I think it's grown a lot. Over there.
So that was my hometown, humble beginnings. And connected to that hometown beginnings are the hardships, right? So, everybody has pre-trauma, even kids with, 2 parents and 2 incomes and well-adjusted with, you experience adversity, right? Whether it's, and generally we can bundle all the pre-trauma or adversity we have in our life kind of in 2 big categories therapeutically. There's abandonment and inadequacy. Those are the 2 big ones. So all the shit that we complain about or we attach all of our dysfunction to: abandonment, inadequacy. Those are the dragons that haunt the lives of humans. So I definitely had those experiences. Dad left early, grew up in poverty. Kind of classic neglecty things, and a lot of that. It was the birth of the passion, which means to suffer, of my journey. So very grateful for all the adversity in my past. I have integrated that shadow in the Jungian sense.
Yeah, I think it's obviously, like how we grow, and most people talk about, like we grow through challenges, we grow through those hardships. And when we're young, we usually just put those aside and try to ignore them or just like don't think they're there. But as we get older, we understand like that's who we are. And then when you talk about it with people and you get to know them, you understand you're not the only one that went through it, where you may have thought that when you're younger. And sometimes it's a way to build relationships, and just like get that bond with somebody that you may have just met. So it's always harder to talk about when you're younger, but then as we grow older, we sort of realize like that's sort of life, like we're always gonna have to struggle with something. It's never going to be a golden paved road per se, as we move through. It's just sort of how you adapt to it and use it as a tool to continue to lead and develop. So
it's the launch of all the great journeys of our life are sourced from abandonment or inadequacy, and finding a way to initially cope and deal with and manage, and then we draw from it. And that's the story of every great man in history. Is there's some little, you got cut from your high school basketball team, so now you took it personally. Michael Jordan got drafted in the 26th round. Oh, so I'm going to crush every team that didn't take me. We end up using that thing as the forge of our lives. So if you grew up poor, if you handled it, you're rich. If you grew up with abandonment, you've addressed the issues, and now your relationships are great. So it's a gift.
What would you say to some of those kids out there, or people who may have grown up with, I say, like a decent childhood? Maybe they had their parents still together, they worked, they had maybe a blue collar life, they went to high school, they went to college. Maybe they're at that point in their career where they're like, man, like they hear about people succeeding through these trials and tribulations, but then they haven't experienced, so they go, am I successful? Like, what would you say?
There's always something, and generally that core trauma and our core psychology are developed around age 7 or 8. It's when the Jesuits say, "Give me the boy till 7, and I will give you the man." It's those years, and we in the therapeutic community, you don't compare trauma, because people who have a natural resiliency or have a higher threshold of what we consider trauma look at average, well-adjusted people like, you have no trauma, but you can't compare the two. When you look at people who grew up on the streets, prisons, combat vets, their threshold of trauma is at such a level that, other things are sort of inconveniences. But if you haven't had capital T trauma, you have the same physiological and psychological response to small things, like my wife does leadership work with rich kids at wealthy private schools. And a lot of when you look at the trauma that just melts these kids, is they didn't get the car they wanted on their 16th birthday. It didn't have the leather seats. So they lost status, they lost belonging, they lost all these big psychological drivers of success within the tribe. And it's the exact same impact of a life. So it's a challenging but true approach, is to not ever compare traumas. So you have them. Even if you have this golden childhood, there's something in there that is the source of your dis-ease.
Nice. So what about a hero? Do you have a hero for the table? It can be fictional, non. What do you got for us?
Oh, Marcus Aurelius. Like who are the big guns in that space? When I look at the pantheon of men that I consider heroic and valuable, and I draw from a mentorship capacity, there's really maybe no complete men that I would switch lives with. I wouldn't switch lives with anybody that I know. But I view that heroic admiration in categories of what they have done that is better than me, which is every man in the world. So, every man in the world has something they do better than me. But with all that said, the one that popped for me is Shackleton.
Oh, you did?
Ernest Shackleton.
Is that the guy about the book Endurance?
Yes.
Dude, that's so crazy. I think this was meant to happen because I do a book club here on base, and the medical group commander runs it. And the book for the month of February was Endurance.
Dude.
I haven't read it, but I think now I have to read it, because this is 2 times I've heard it in a week.
It's going to break. It will break you. You had better not fucking complain about anything after reading that book.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So Ernest Shackleton was one of these, one of the last of the great adventurers of our time, because we filled in the maps, But so he was trying to find the Northwest Passage, which was, unexplored, a lot more ice up in the Arctic. It's now wide open. You can just canoe through it. But at that time, it was this epic thing that had never been done. And famously, he posted a advertisement on the newspaper. This is the 20s or 30s, or I mean, it was a long time ago. And the advertisement paraphrase was looking for men for an arduous adventure to the Arctic, something about a little small chance of success, significant chance that you will die, but you'll have a shot at doing something that has never been done. I mean, no man is going to show up to that. Horrible. Like come join this impossible thing that we're doing for no pay, massive trauma and risk, but you have a chance to do something great. There was a line around the block of men who, like, you're tracking that the penguin going to the mountains.
I've seen a lot of those clips now where it's just off like waddling and everything. Yeah,
dude. Like, I don't know if you can watch that as a man and not get something going on with yourself.
Yeah,
like the narrator Herzog, he's like, but why? I know why. So did every other man who joined Shackleton. They're penguins going, there's got to be more to life than just what I'm doing. So they got on this wooden sailing boat, went up to the Arctic. They knew they were going to get ice trapped, but then they were going to wait it out, and then thaws. They were going to be able to complete their journey, and it turned out that there was no thaw. They got locked in the ice, started crushing their ship, and they're deep in the Arctic Circle, and it's the tale of their survival. For like years surviving on seals, penguins, ate their sled dogs, harrowing, and they did not lose a man. They dragged sledges, floated on icebergs for years, surviving with each other. It's the most extreme example of leadership, resiliency, tribe, the best of men. So that dude, and like whoever that man was who held that crew together, because even reading it, I'm like, dude, just quit, just drop into the water, man. Don't. And yet they just persevered, month after month, freezing and starving, amputations, and they all made it back. Epic.
Yeah, that takes a lot where to not have anybody quit, because obviously now in like very elite teams, one of the things we talk about a lot is like 20 people quit, but I made it, Is that really like the goal? Like, and so that sort of like flipped the script on like what is like true form of leadership in a team, is like, it's not, can I survive after everybody else dies? Is that like heroism, or it's like, no, like we all made it. Like I would have loved it when I went through team, if everybody made it through and we all became instructors, that would have shown a lot to the cadre, like they led a great team, nobody quit. But you sort of like are expecting it now, with like these groups of people doing hard things where they sort of expect people to quit, which is crazy.
Do you know the Heraclitus quote about the 100 men who go to battle?
Oh, is it like 100 men, or like 90, or I don't know if you know it off the top of your head, but
yeah. So Heraclitus, old Greek philosopher, historian dude, said of the 100 men that go to battle, 10 should not even be there. Like you should not even signed up, dude. Like you are not built for this. 80 are just targets. You're pawns, dismissible. 9 are the real fighters, and we're grateful to have them, for they make the battle. And then there's the 1, and that is the one who brings the others home. That's Shackleton. That's Shackleton. Like, he's the one, and that's a hero. Brings the others home. Woohoo! Shackleton. Heraclitus.
That's
and then
cool.
My second hero, George fucking Washington, bro. George Washington. Oh my God. I get a little deep dive on him. Read a biography, and then I watched Ken Burns' Revolutionary War documentary. Big, long, exhaustively researched deep dive into, the Revolutionary War that I didn't know a lot of things. But that man, what he did he's the one. He's the one that, his army just got whittled down to, 1,000 dudes in Valley Forge, no equipment, no food, no uniforms. And he held those dudes together through years and years of eminent defeat. Just defeat. And he held those guys together, held the country together.
Yeah. So now, as we transition, we talk about the tribe. Let's talk about you. Where did you develop from?
So we partner with a wolf sanctuary called Apex Protection Project. Shout out to Apex for their rehabilitation work with, neglected and abused animals. And when you look at a wolf, they're like a big German Shepherd. They're not scary. They're not significant. They're not safe. They're not successful. There is nothing notable about a German Shepherd in the scope of the predator kingdom. I mean, I have 2 German Shepherds, and they die in a day out in the in the real world with mountain lions and bears. And when you look at the big megafauna of the Ice Age, where you had like the big things hunting, right? And so there's absolutely nothing significant or safe or successful about a wolf. Take 10 of them together, and now you have the safest, most significant, most successful apex predator in the Northern Hemisphere. That's humanity. A lone man is not safe, successful, significant in any way. A group of men welded together with a common vision, mission, values. That's Shackleton. You cannot beat them. We are unbeatable when we are at our best. When we are isolated, when we're alone, when we're traumatized, we are dismissible creatures. So, radical difference.
So how'd you get to the wolf tribe? What's sort of like some highlights of your life, your career that sort of has kept you into that leadership world?
Unlike you, I was not a well-adjusted veteran, and who had things going on, and the recipient of a lot of work done by the leaders in our field. Like that you have that banner behind you, and you're rocking that logo on your shirt, like you're riding a wave. Like you paddled hard, you got on the wave, and you are solvent. For my generation, that didn't exist. There was nothing for us. That leadership development, resiliency, like none of that existed. And so I got lucky in some dark times in my reintegration work, where I was working as a security guard, just trying to get through college to get my GI Bill. Not even like because I wanted to. It was like, oh, this is how I got my little money. And there was a job opening to do like belaying ropes course work. And I was like, that's cool. I've rock climbed, I can belay. And so I just got this little college job doing that. And it turned out that it was the 90s, 1991. Yeah, so long time, decades, right? When were you born?
87.
87, sweet. So yeah, right after you were born, I dropped, was doing ropes courses, and there happened to be a couple of these personal growth programs, that were doing ropes courses as a component of their big leadership work. And so I got to peripherally experience what leadership development, what psychology and therapeutic work and conflict resolution and like basically the initiation process, which none of that really existed for me. And it was a shocking awareness. I come from a culture where, you don't talk about feelings. Uh, Therapy did not exist. Like that just wasn't part of my upbringing at all.
You were a
And
lone
so,
wolf.
yeah, we all were just
Yeah.
starving and
Yep.
scavenging, and so that was a absolute sea change for me to realize that work existed, and I have an opportunity to be part of that, which was my healing developmental journey. And so that was a no-brainer for me. Like, oh, this is if there's a career path that I can make a little money and I can get better at all the things I want to do in my life, I'm going to be doing this until I'm complete. So still doing it. Still working on it, man. But yeah, what a glorious career, leadership development, which is now I'm doing that with, Disney and Red Bull and SpaceX. So it's it's an endless journey. What's great about it, you're never done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
the
think that's what I've loved diving into leadership the past 5 years for me is you're never like the best leader, right? There's never like a pedestal you get to or like you check all the boxes and you're sort of like, cool, I'm done doing this. Like I can just become a leader. It's like you're always like finding new avenues to either challenge yourself or learn from, or something happens in life where all the tools you had in your box didn't work for leadership and you have to do something else. And you just keep going like over and over and over.
back to that pre-trauma conversation, that that thing that launched my journey. Okay, here's all this unresolved, stuff, or any other person. Mostly men, your folks. Is this a
Yeah,
male podcast?
yeah.
Uh, I don't know if you're formerly like a masculine podcast or not, but
No,
uh,
I think I've had two females. So
all right. But the folks listening are generally men, so
yeah.
we just it's not a radical difference, but there are some unique differences psychologically, developmentally between men and women. Um, we require initiation, and that's very different than women. They tend to have the ability to self-initiate into a mature psychology, and men do not. We require the
Yeah.
accountability and support of the tribe of other men to, otherwise we run, and so we need other men guarding the exits. So there are some differences, and it's just knowing that I'm talking to bros right now, and now I can
Yeah.
lean into that topic. So at some point, all the passion suffering that launches our journey it's a transformational developmental initiation process that becomes really the gift that we bring to our people, and that ends up being our purpose. We're never done, but the skills that we have gathered that were launched from our passion end up serving our people, which is ultimately our purpose. And that's kind of a good framework of looking at a larger life thing. There's always passion and suffering. How do the things that we have learned that were our unique situation to that, how do those serve the people in our community and our family and our careers? And that becomes a very workable definition of purpose. Classic hero's journey.
um, so as we get down that road, the next sort of transition into the show is, I always cover my leadership philosophy, so that way if somebody's listening for the first time or for the 15th time, they understand like the way I sort of structure my life now is built around these four pillars. For anybody to sort of go through life is have like a backbone that keeps you on the straight and narrow. The actions I take have to align with these four things. And it's lead by example in all you do. To be selfless, you have to be selfish. build relationships based off trust and care, and then challenge everyone in front of you, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable.
This was okay. Lead by example.
The good one.
Yeah, that is because since we're talking about the leadership purpose journey, you don't hire a fat trainer. You don't hire a broke financial advisor. You don't hire a single relationship coach. Like you, one of the axioms that I use a lot in my work is our lives are evidence of our efficacy, which is another way of saying what lead by example. It's it when you look at organizational values, and these are the things that should be guiding the decision-making process of people. That's the function of values, that they drive decisions. And because it's a force ranking prioritization, to choose certain values, the opportunity cost of all the other values. That's how they work. So to choose commitment costs you independence and freedom. So you don't get to have both, gentlemen. Like, it's when you are making a value-based decision, whatever that top loudest value that's operating in you is the one that wins. When you're eating food, is it healthy or delicious? You don't get both. Like, at some point, you got to make the choice about what you put in your body, what you watch, what you do, everything. Our values literally drive the decisions we make and the actions we take through our lives. And leaders don't dictate those values; they model them. And as a parent, your kids are not listening to you, bro. They're watching you. They're watching you. And so the way you conduct yourself, particularly in times of stress, those are actually installing an operating system in the people who look up to you. So lead by example and be very intentional about building a life that is evidence of your efficacy as a leader.
Yeah. And I think a couple of things to highlight there is you brought up like leading in stressful situations. Some leaders will think, I will lead when it gets tough. But it doesn't work like that. You can't just like wait for a stressful situation, then just like never lead up to it and then expect to lead when it gets tough because let's just say, for instance, I just flying the B1, right? If I know a lot about the B1, I can't just say like, hey, I know a lot about the B1, so when it gets tough, I will become a better leader because that's when it's required. It doesn't really work like that because you have to be leading all the way up to it, and then I also throw in, lead by example in everything you do because some people, like maybe that fit trainer is only caring about how he looks, but maybe they're horrible in other things where if they're your trainer, you're thinking like, hey, that's cool, but they're still going to see other aspects of your life that are just not going to align with them. And so that's usually the one that gets a lot of people when I say lead by example in everything you do. That's why it's like leadership, man, because it's hard.
Yeah. It's holistic. It is a whole, and there's basically 4 components to life that are psychological, and a lot of men know this from Myers-Briggs or DISC. It's a classic psychometric exercise. It's also the same 4 roles that exist in every tribe and every wolf pack. It is a quadrant-based operating system that drives specialization, but it also is a very good snapshot of a holistic life. And when you look at our personal lives, those 4 big pillars of a life are: can you focus on your future, your fitness, your finances, and your family? Those are, and if you have one of those that you have not done any work in, it will collapse all the other 3. And that, you can't focus on just the one thing that this is what I do, because it will be tethered to all the other 3. And there's always one that you need to work on. In business, those are the 4 Ps: which is progress, performance, process, and your people. And really successful business leaders, like they make sure that they build those 4 P's into every strategic plan that they're doing. So leadership is a holistic process, because if you're missing one of those, then you got a weak pack, and you will not be able to get through the winter if you have one of those that you have not addressed.
Yeah, and I always think of when we look at the military, right? A lot of people just think leaders are just good at their job in the military, because that's unfortunately like how we promote, is like that one task. But when there are leaders who do more, like I obviously share my fitness journey because that is another pillar in leadership. But then I'll get a lot of people that comment like, well, that's all you care about is fitness, And I'm like, well, yeah, I care about it because it's going to make me better at my job, make me better for my people. And they're like, and some people will literally just message me like, dude, I don't care about fitness. I see somebody good at their job. I'm like, yo, but if they're not good at fitness, they're not going to be the best for your job. Like some people just don't realize they're so connected. They think they're like so separated that someone could just be super good at their job, but overweight and out of shape and lethargic and all that. And it's like, no.
Yeah. No.
And it's usually people who are out of shape and don't put in the work. And so they want to idolize somebody like that so they don't feel like ostracized or that they're not on the right path.
Yeah. Using that as an example, people who are only focused on fitness are usually have some serious addiction issues, depression issues, anxiety issues. They're not addressing their finances and their faith.
Yeah.
They're not looking forward, future focused, oftentimes destroying their body through whatever the means that they're doing. So it is not a sustainable success. And that's the mark when you look at Shackleton and George Washington. They're not just winning one battle, doing a heroic thing.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, years. We're talking, a successful man is somebody who is able to do that sustainably, not just over years, but you're looking at generations. Generations. What you do now is breaking the ancestral curses of your bloodline and launching an entire new arc of your people. That's you don't get that unless you've addressed every aspect of your life across time.
Yeah, and I think it's more important now for men to do that for their kids because social media is so easy that our kids are seeing the opposite so much. And so we have to establish that, like that role, that tribe, that leadership's obviously they see us all the time here, but man, when they're zoned out, sometimes on devices or at school, what they see around other parents or around other kids in their class, like I just need to make sure I'm doing as much as I can now so that doesn't like block their vision. They can keep focused on what is our family's vision and purpose.
The rise of long form content like this, in the zeitgeist of our times, that has unlocked this conversation, because you can't survive in an hour-long conversation if you haven't developed some holistic understanding of yourself and the world and all these topics. That you can't deliver a little 30-second soundbite. You get revealed in an hour, and that's actually a really exciting development, for me, because I grew up without the internet, and then the rise of social media, and that it's a really people shit on it hard. How terrible the internet and social media and and now AI and all. No, it's great. Just be smart. Be curate. What you're taking in, and do you feel better or worse after whatever it is that you are digesting? That has to do with food, has to do with people, has to do with what you're watching. And that's one of my axioms is don't eat, watch, or do anything that makes me feel worse afterwards. And you feel worse if you're just doom scrolling. Feel dirty. But watch a good podcast with somebody who's kind of got their shit together. Yeah. Now you're like, man, I'm smarter and more inspired after this conversation.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people like about social media with how much I say I'm on it, but how much like what I'm watching, is not the bad part of social media that a lot of I say leaders in the military expect it is, because there's a lot of leadership in the military that aren't on social media because they think it's crappy and they think it's a bad representation. And I'm like, I don't know what y'all are watching, but it only shows that because that's what you're watching. It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
Like if you think social media sucks, you made it suck. Mine isn't like that. Mine is full of badass killers, and every time I watch it, I want to go freaking crush things because I'm either super
Yeah.
jealous or super motivated because those people are doing better than me. But that's how I fill my time on social media.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I was going to go back to the four components thing really quick. So Matthew McConaughey and Ed Milet did a good podcast, and Matthew McConaughey talked about how he balances those like checks and balances, and he brings those up all the time. One of the things he talks about is he uses like a debit credit system, for those. So like if he's working on a
Yeah.
movie that's increasing his finances, he may know his friendship or fitness may like fall into the credit level. And so he plans that out in his schedule, right? Like maybe it's like a year long movie, but then he shifts his gears, pulls those back up, right? And then he balances those out or brings them up to debit. Then maybe his movie star credit goes down a little bit because he's balancing those out. And so I always like that because he looks so much holistically, like years down the road. People are so focused on like, how do I balance all these like today or like this week? Where when you really see that growth is when you're balancing it out like 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. It sort of lets you breathe a little bit more, but it helps you understand how to really like control it.
Yeah, it's an investment. He's playing the long game.
Yeah.
Play the long game.
And it's really hard to do now, especially with social media. Sometimes social media shows us like the fast way to do things, right? But it's not sustainable, like you mentioned, and it just doesn't help us get to the long game. And sometimes the long game is boring for people that are trying to get that change. They're like, wait, so you're telling me to live a great life, I have to watch what I eat, go move for like a couple minutes a day, drink water? Like that sounds horrible. Like, what I want something flashy, or exciting, but it's not really sustainable.
Embrace the suck. That comes from our world.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
And passion is always suffering at its beginning. There's an old Greek proverb that says, "Fate guides those who will, and those who won't, she drags." And so, yeah, if you intentionally start your developmental journey in your fitness, finances, future family, whatever that is, there is some discomfort. There's always resistance. Yeah. We refuse the call to adventure. Right? We always do, because no animal on the planet willingly, goes through adversity. And we're built to have that adversity brought to us. That's why we're inherently resilient creatures, like every other creature is. And we live in an era where we do not have any adversity. Nothing is hunting us. Yeah. We have too much food. We have climate controlled rooms we're both sitting in. There's no adversity in the world, and we cannot survive without it. And so, part of your thing is you have something about doing hard things. Oh, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
you have to do that.
Yeah, that's
we essentially have to go like, all right, I'm going to sign up to this thing, or I'm going to set this schedule, or I'm going to do this, track my macros, or whatever it is. Yeah, that's what makes us great.
Yeah, I think that's important that you hit it. Is you have to like physically make that change. Other than that, nobody's going to make you, or life will just let you stay complacent and comfortable, and you're not going to see any growth. Let's dive into what we were talking about before that we put a note on, a book recommendation you had for Joseph Campbell for Hero's Journey. And I think that was more geared along the line of the tribe and stuff like that. So hit that really quick. And I think it aligns with your note of find your passion. So
So if we had talked about the hero's journey right off the bat, it would have encompassed every single topic that we have
Right.
ranged through, including, you know, Shackleton and George Washington and discomfort, like everything. And so what the hero's journey is a master map of humanity. It has always existed, and it was that most of the guys watching here are familiar with the term, the hero's journey. It was originated by a mythologist named Joseph Campbell, and he wrote a whole bunch of books related to some of them very academic, hard to read, but the most um, accessible Campbell book is called The Power of Myth. And it's actually a transcribed interview with a really great journalist, when we used to have great journalists, named Bill Moyer. Very smart, altruistic, well-educated man, sitting down with this mythologist professor for however long, how many hours that interview is. And it is the most shockingly profound, deep dive human conversation maybe ever recorded. And it's on YouTube. You can watch it. The transcribed version of that interview is the book, The Power of Myth. So just for the guys watching who want to kind of touch on that. So what Campbell did was he was a comparative mythologist and studied the different stories and religions and across the globe. He neglected some. It's a big place, the globe. But everywhere he studied, he realized that we are telling the same story over and over and over. It's exactly the same. The Odyssey that's coming out this summer, everybody's, oh, the Odyssey. It's Star Wars. It's Harry Potter. It's Exodus from the Old Testament. You can just throw a rock and hit a myth from a culture and then unpack the sequential steps that happen. It's the same story. And so then Campbell's going like, why are we telling that same story? And it's because it is the unavoidable sequence of steps of a human journey. It operates in this conversation you and I are having is a heroic journey arc. Your fitness journey, your military career. Once you're able to reflect back on it, you're like, oh, that was my call to adventure. This is my road of trials. Here's the abyss. Here's the, dot, 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 dot. So the power of this map, like every map, is it allows us to collaborate with other people who are on their journey, who are part of your journey, and also to navigate it successfully. Right? You're not wandering through some uncharted terrain that like, oh, I hope I survive. No, you pull back and look at the map and go, oh, okay, so this is a hard part right here. But you know what? Topographically, that next part's going to be very different. And so that what having a good map for anything, whether it's like a fitness journey or a financial development, or in my case, leadership and culture work with a company, there's three big questions. If you're watching this, I invite you to write them down because they're worth remembering. Number one, where are you? All right. And back to those 4 F's, like, where's your fitness? Like, do you know? When was the last time you weighed yourself? What's your body fat? What's your VO2 max? What are your, whatever it is, mobility? Where are you now? Finances. Okay. Have you looked at your investments? What you have a budget? How's your relationship? You need to know where you are first. And then that allows you to ask the second question, which is, so what happens next? You need to, if you don't have the map, you can't answer that second question. That's why the hero's journey is told around campfires for 10,000 years. Is it tells you, here's where I am. This is imminent. And once you've answered that question, then you get to deal with the big question, which is not what do I need to be doing? How do I do it? It's who do you need to be? That is always the leadership question. And I just heard one of your kids.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the developmental stage of my kids. I know what's coming next. Now, who do I need to be as a dad to make that transition successful. So it is a powerhouse of a navigational system, and Joseph Campbell is the one who originated that.
One of your traits that you hit in the email was think it, see it, and do it. So discuss that, because that's a hard thing for, I say, young leaders or young people that want to change, is thinking it, right? That's usually what stops most people is thinking about it.
The reason why that one popped for me is that I actually had a little LOL, a little chuckle out loud when I read it, because I like the first parking spot. If I go to the store, because I drive a big truck, I usually have dogs in the truck, and I like to see my dogs, and I like to be able to, I like that first spot. I call it the Doris Day spot, because in the old movies, she would pull up in the and there's always a spot right in front of the hotel. She pulls in. Anyway, I like that spot, and I get it a lot. I oftentimes get that spot. And so when I would take my daughter when she was young, to the supermarket, you know, there was that sort of running joke of getting that spot.
Yeah.
And I would say you see it, right? You look for it and you work for it. And that was finding, and I was telling her about a parking spot thing of life, but I was really installing an operating system for her, which is exactly what you said. Do you have an active vision for the thing that you want to be achieving, right? Do you know what you want to look like? Do you know what you want to be able to lift? Do you know what you want, how you want people to respond to you? When you show up in a room and people, do you have that vision? And then can you look for the opportunities to move towards that vision? And then can you work? You may have to take a circle around the parking lot. You may have to take, a couple minutes. And sometimes that's the case. But, if you don't do those things, you never get that spot. It's hit or miss. But if you're able to do those three things, you have a pretty high percentage of a good parking spot and a successful body and lots of money and a great relationship and all those things you want. Follow that sequence. So
Yeah, I love it. The only thing I usually always think out the way I phrase, believe it, think it, and then like see and do it. So you add that little belief factor to it, which sort of ties people in a little bit more. It brings like the passion to it. Like we talked about earlier. You have the passion for something, you believe you can do it, and then once you start believing you can do it, then that's when the wheels start turning. You're thinking it, and then that's why vision boards are important, and things like that. Because as you start that parking spot, or that house or whatever, and then you start seeing it everywhere. Like there's a lot of concepts of like, if you think of a red car, right? You're gonna go driving, and all you're gonna see is that damn red car everywhere. And then if you want it, it's the same thing. You just got to go out and do it. And I think that's what obviously a lot of people struggle with. This is going out and doing it. Keep it really easy to start off with. You don't have to run full speed through the race. It's just step by step. And like we talked about, it has to be sustainable. Network is key. Different than a tribe. Is it your tribe? Like, how do those play together?
They're cohesive.
Yeah.
They're on the same bookshelf. The in one aspect, networking is about connecting with people that are different than you.
Yeah.
And they that wolf analogy, the wolves are specialists in what they do. There are trackers, there are killers, there are hunters, there are nanny wolves that stay back and protect the young. Like they are very specific functions in their team. In the same way, a football team has very specific functions. I don't know how many people are on the planes you fly, but they have very specific.
Yeah, we got 4. So
perfect. Those are the 4, and even in special forces communities, teams of 4.
Yeah,
and they're very specific. Like you got your comms guy, your weapons, demolition. Like you've got your 4 specialists, and we're the only animal besides wolves that does that. We are designed at a evolutionary level to be specialists with the things that we do. I am very visionary. I mean, I'm very good at visioning future. I'm really shitty at granular, detail, repetitive, grindy, analytical work, but my wife is great at it. Like, so dating is networking. Like you find the complementary specialists on your team, and an aligned team of specialists will always beat a team of generalists. If you've got people who are just kind of good at everything, put them together, they will get crushed by a team of specialists, which is why we do it. So part of networking is finding your people that complement what you do. And that's part of networking. And then, of course, the other part of networking, there is scope, scale, accessing. The magic is between us. It's nowhere else. It's connecting with other people. This may be a contentious statement, but when you go to the gym, take your damn headphones off.
Yeah, I don't work out with headphones.
Talk to people at the gym. Roll your windows down. When you're walking in the world, get off your phone, dudes. I can't tell you how many men walking around with their earbuds in, staring at their screen at the gym, not talking to it. Like you are tourniqueting your life by doing that. And we're not supposed to be. Not only is it unsafe, it's unproductive, but all your business contacts, all your cool opportunities, everything is it's the allies on your journey are there. They're here. They're around us right now. Red car. They're around us right now. Talk to the people at your gym, and you're going to have bros. You're going to have business. You're going to have all the things you want. And
you're probably having all the things you're looking at on your phone, wishing you had.
Yeah, right there. It's like, talk to another guy about like, what is that working? That's why are you doing that? Like, whatever. And so that's the other power of networking too.
Yeah. And it's simple. Like some people think networking is so complicated with like, oh, well, I don't want to take the time because they think it's all like business oriented, which it leads to that. But it's as simple as that's what I love about networking. It's simple. And that's why I love going to the gym without headphones. I will like sometimes awkwardly stare at a guy, even though I don't have headphones, just to get like a head nod. So that's usually where it starts, and then I'll get like a head nod, and then I'll sort of look over and do the whole like start with a compliment if I can, like, hey, dude, like cool shoes if they have Nobles on, right? Because I have a relationship with Nobles, like I like Nobles, or it's just and it's just
can I work in? Can I get a spot, dude?
Yeah,
I've never.
That's how we're built. Like you talked about, like that's how we're physically and psychologically built. We're not built to just like not talk to anybody. Our brain doesn't work like that.
No, man. And I work at a Gold's Gym, in Venice, the mecca of bodybuilding, and all the big monster, scary guys are down there, and they're intimidating, because these are the pros and they're really focused on whatever. They're the nicest, most grateful people when you ask them, hey, is that like a upper back or lower back thing you're doing? Oh, let me tell you, I'm so excited. Thank you for. So, you never get a shitty response. So yeah, networking, tribe, find that thing.
I'll just recap a couple of them already.
My next one's coming out actually next month. It's the 4 wolf wisdoms, which are those 4 roles of the tribe or the pack. So that one's coming out next month. So.
But yeah, did you have any last parting shots?
Ooh, parting shots. It was great to see you again, bro. Good to see you happy. Good to see you vital. Hey, one of my sort of sign-offs is to give some sort of leadership blessing. Even when I'm finishing a big keynote, I will give them something. But the one that I'm liking, like this year so far, is an old blessing from a rabbi, like 3,000 years ago, Rabbi Hillel the elder. And he said, if you are not for yourself, then who will be? Put yourself first. If you are not for others, then what are you? Which means we're here to serve. If you're not doing that, then what are you? And then lastly, if not now, when? So if you're waiting for some position or permission to go on this journey, stop waiting, answer the call, and take care of yourself, serve others.